We are in Amsterdam. Very cold, very windy. It is Jan right now, literally the first week of Jan. And so I'm speaking to Paul, Finney. Let's hope that comes out well.
As somebody who's very deep into the ecosystem, why is Web3 so disruptive?
This is a great time for people to actually work in crypto, especially crypto design, right? Because the standards are not set.
Today we have swipe to refresh, which is a common pattern, but there is one person who came up with that. What's up, Paul? Welcome to the episode.
Wow, what a day to be alive, no? It's really great here in Amsterdam.
Yeah. Today we're in Vondel Park. This is like a huge park in Amsterdam. Paul is visiting for a couple of, he's towards the end of his Euro trip. I just visited just so we could record, hang out. But today we're going to be whoa, check out those parrots. Wow. Today we're going to be shooting into the idea of what you can do in Web3 as a designer. And in general, we're going to be talking about the frontier, right? Once you figure out the basics, what's new in design, what's new in technology, what are these new areas that you, if you're early, can get a massive advantage in. For a lot of people, that is Web3. For a lot of other people, it's AI generative tools. But today we're going to talk to Paul. Paul, what's up, bro?
Great. Super excited to be here, honestly. Especially bringing in some stories from the Web3 crypto side of the world. Yeah.
So Paul runs SpaceKayak. He was also a founder. He's done a bunch of startup stuff. Paul, what's your last 5 years condensed summary of what you've done? Like, how do you tell your story? How do you see your narrative?
So I'm a serial entrepreneur. And right now, I'm running a creative team for crypto companies. I'm an operator, which means that I work closely with founders and help them with all things creative, particularly like founders in their early stage of their startup journey, which is what we call 0 to 1 founders, right? Yeah, so that's me.
So SpaceKayak, what are some clients that you worked with so far that we've probably heard of?
Oh yes, you've probably heard of a lot of them, but let me start with the most prominent ones. I think starting with Polygon is one of our biggest clients, and we built a really interesting product for Polygon. It's going to come out very soon.
Nice.
And then you got Bioeconomy, we got the best wallet on Juno, Pillar Fund. We've got a bunch of new upcoming wallets like Obvious. Yeah, we got a bunch of DAOs as well. Llama DAO is probably the famous one.
Yeah. So let's start here. What's the biggest difference designing for Web 2 versus Web 3? Because we were talking earlier today, and you have a very fixed proposition, which is you only work on Web 3 projects. You're not exactly an agency. You're more of a design studio. We'll get into that in a bit. What's the difference between Web 3 and Web 2 working as a designer?
I think the biggest change in Web 3 is you don't have any standards. Like in Web 2, you have a lot of standards, right? Like you have standards right from how do you do design, to how do you think about design, to how do you ship design, to how do you work with engineering on design, right? All of these are like well established in like big Web 2 companies, and we have a point of reference. But in Web 3, a lot of this is still kind of getting figured out. We really don't have that kind of standards apart from like crypto standards. We have certain ways things have to be designed, but we really don't know how these would work when we put it out in the real world. So the playbook for Web3 design is still getting built. So that's probably the biggest difference between Web2 and
Got
Web3
it. And this playbook, it's on the user front, which is the patterns as well as the process. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, patterns and process, right? Like, to give you some example, in Web2 design, like if you were working in a software company, you'd probably have your product managers come to you with a very nice PRD or a design requirement document that tells you exactly like the kind of problem they're trying to solve for, the problems your user is facing, the constraints, and you could always ask them, hey, can I know a little more about the user? Can you tell me like his purchase patterns or like where is he coming from? All these things. But in Web3, you don't have any of this, right?
Yeah, true.
It's so
You just got their addresses.
you got your wallet addresses. So how do you essentially cluster some of these publicly available information, which could be wallet information and like different things, right? So you don't really have a PRD, you don't really have a design requirement document. So these are really new. Like how do you essentially like design in collaboration with product and engineering for an actual Web3 product, right? It's something that people are still like figuring out.
Yeah. How many designers on your team?
So today we have 12 designers.
Yeah.
And we keep a rolling program for interns. And of course, we've hired a lot from 10K designers.
Nice.
So we keep that rolling,
Yeah. So tell me this, like from those designers, do you see that a lot of them were designing in Web2 before they switched, or have a lot of them just like directly gotten into Web3 and started designing? What's the pattern?
I think like a lot of them have a very good fundamentals of how software should work or how like consumer products work in general. So they do have some design background, I would say. But when you talk about like expertise, I think everyone's just like getting started. And the beauty of it is in my team, we make sure that everyone is actually user of Web3, right? Like the onboarding in our company is actually getting people ENS, dropping something on their wallet, asking them go interact with multiple dApps, try it out. You need to know what Web3 is, what crypto is before you could design for it. So yeah, my team is more like native users, and whatever expertise that they've built is like acquired over the period of like the last 1.5 years.
Got it. Let's talk about money in Web3, right? I think for a lot of people, even like, for example, when I was heavily engaging in the Bro community, which is still active, by the way, a lot of people realize that, hey, with this, it's like earning in dollars. You know what? Hold on. I think this would be a good time for us to switch into our ponchos because it is raining. Okay, so let's rewind that a bit. Okay, talking about money in Web3, I know a lot of people from the Bro and the 10K designers communities that got into Web3 because of the NFTs, right? NFTs really for designers made it a visual artifact, cultural thing that you can trade on, just like Pokemon cards. I think it triggered a very sweet spot for a lot of designers, including me. And what got them to stay was that, hey, I'm being paid in Ethereum, right? I'm getting paid in these tokens which are going up in value, sometimes going down as well. But I remember for me and back in college, I felt that same way about earning in dollars versus rupees. And now the generation that's coming in, they feel that way about earning in Ethereum or Solana. So how exactly does that work?
This is one of the most interesting things that you could look at as a designer, right? For long, like we've been thinking about what could give us the best creative outbreak, but I think for the first time we are at a place where not just you're rewarded for creativity, but it can give you like true financial freedom as well. And the way it works is, the reason why people get paid in Ethereum is also because if you think about like the classic work that designers do in like Web2, it's often tied to like a brand, and it is often restricted to like a particular work scope, right? Like I worked for brand X and this is what I did. And here's my portfolio on Dribble, right? But the moment you start doing things on chain, right, your work is going to stay on forever, which means, hey, I work for brand X, but here's my work on chain, which is immutable. It's going to live on forever, right? So the idea of reward or incentive for a work like that completely changes, right? Because now people can buy and sell NFTs so many times. There's a secondary market. It's crazy, right? And you can't be paying designer just for that one instance of artwork that he did. Now the incentive structure around NFTs are also changing for the creators, right?
Yeah.
And that has slowly seeped into the creative industry as well, which is like the design industry in crypto. And what I would say is this is what I call a token curated career. A token curated career is how, for the work that you do in crypto, you slowly start getting rewarded in their native currencies.
Yeah.
Right. The native currency could be like Solana or Ethereum or Matic, depending on the project. But what it helps for you to do is, over time, when you see that your work is actually working out, it's creating impact, the value of the reward that you get, like which is Matic or like Solana, it could also be like, you know, equally rewarding.
Yeah, yeah.
And in token curated career, like that's what we do in SpaceKayak as well, right? So right now, we have given all our employees an option to take up to 20% of their yearly package in crypto. And we've given them a clear chart as an organization how we are transitioning to be more like an on-chain design company, which means that you could go all the way up to like, you know, 60-70%
Yeah.
reward in crypto. And it works today because your crypto rewards are USDC, just stables. You could pretty much plug it into something like an Onjuno, and that's your basically your checking account.
Yeah.
And by the way, the fact is like most of my Euro trip is like powered by crypto, right?
Yeah.
Like almost 95% is powered by crypto. And last year, like 60% of my remuneration came in crypto. So this is a sign of how, for creatives, like it could be life changing.
Yeah.
And a great way to like build long lasting wealth.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize how far we've come, which is, I remember back in the day, I was like buying Bitcoin on like BTC-E and these random websites. And I'm like, okay, now how do I cash this out, this, that. Versus today, most of the people I know are using something like Juno. They've got their, in fact, Apple Pay plus Metal card, and they're just directly spending USDC. That's crazy. Yeah.
And the other thing is also like it has the same risk as early stage employees getting issued ESOPs, right? And now that instead of ESOPs, people are getting like Matic and like Solana and things like that, because you're not only now holding a currency of one particular company, but an entire foundation, an entire like ecosystem, right? All the projects that are going to come up on Solana, and if you hold Solana, I mean, I'm not like, you know, selling Solana here. Yeah, not a Solana maxi, but I'm just giving you an example because Super Team has a lot of creatives from the Solana ecosystem. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give that example as well for everybody. Let's say you're working at a company. That company gives you ESOPs. Now, this company is not publicly traded. So those ESOPs, you have that vesting schedule, all of that stuff, but you can't just immediately sell what you vested, right? You have certain rules around how exactly that works. So it's usually a liquidity constraint. Versus something like Ethereum, you can think about it as the whole ecosystem of Ethereum. You are getting a part of that, right? When you get ETH or when you get Sol. So that's cool. Okay, let's talk now about a little bit more on the speculative end, right?
Yeah.
Web3, NFTs, DeFi, DAOs. In fact, more recently, I think the current technological wave is more AI generative tools and stuff. But in general, it's very clear to see that there is something new taking birth in computers, in tech, in design. There are new paradigms, there's going to be new winners. So as somebody who's very deep into the ecosystem, actively designing projects, you know, whether that's wallets, platforms, why is Web3 so disruptive?
That is, I think, the most interesting question. Like every founder would love to answer this who's working in Web3 right now. I think first one is principles, right? Like if you look at internet in itself, so I'm going to give you an answer from a very startup angle, right? Like when you think about the economics of a startup, like you need to think about finding product market fit. You think about simple things like cost of a customer acquisition and all those small things, right? And all of those economics are tied back to what we have structured as a state economy or state policy in Web 2, right? Like this is the value of money, this is how it should be, this is your tax system.
Yeah.
Everything is like already written and you're trying to like play by the rule, right? But in Web 3, the first thing is it's new internet. So it is powered by new internet money.
So what you were talking about was now when you have, the reason it's a new internet is because you're building it on these new protocols and you have new internet money. And that changes everything. But how?
That changes everything from the model, like the capital allocation, right? As a founder, when you think about where do I get the money to acquire the customers? Now in Web3, you have all of a sudden you have these new things like airdrop, right? Now you are basically like creating new incentive structures which are rewarding for the users as well to engage, to like come and commit, to come and explore, and just to explore, people are getting rewarded. These things were not possible before, right?
Yeah.
And of course, like right now we are at a point of abundance, but as smart people, we're also trying to crack the utility part of it, right? Like Onjuno is a great example.
Yeah.
Imagine people in like cities who are now getting paid in crypto and they're able to efficiently like live their complete, like maybe like a part of their life using the money that they make out of crypto, right? And in the most regulated way. That's the most important thing, right? It's not like the dark web where I send money to somewhere, someone is like giving me money. It's the most regulated way of having like a savings account and you're able to transfer your crypto and convert it into actual currency and use it, right?
Yeah.
So these things are very new, like economically rewarding, economic opportunities, equal rights distribution, more openness in terms of like platforms, right?
Yeah.
Like we've been like crying about Twitter for a long time, but imagine if Twitter was Farcaster, like which with me for a minute, right? Like if you have something like Farcaster, which is a permissionless social product, you could build the kind of Twitter you want to build for yourself, for your community, for your society. It can be anything, right? So these new ways of like the Lego system of trying to build new internet, right? It was not possible before, because to build something earlier, you need to have like capital, you need to play by the rules of regulation, you need to play by the rules of startups and VCs and all of that. But now the new innovation is that the new internet is like laid out in front of you with like blocks of Lego, assemble it, and it's equally rewarding for everyone. And that's why it's like so interesting, because it's like one of those art renaissance moment, right? Like people have the power, the tools right now, and they're just painting and they're just expressing. We're yet to see like what's going to come out of it.
So tell me this as well. There's this article we've referenced on the channel before. You probably know this as well, the Great Online Game, right? Basically talks about how, for example, your credentials going on-chain, your work going on-chain, you now have this permanent record. So it kind of becomes this game that you're playing where the score is visible to everybody. You've got all these new tools to play with. The rules are being rewritten. Tell me about this part. So there is a clear difference between somebody who's a trader versus somebody who's a builder, right? Like I bet a lot of people listening, when you think about crypto, you think about trading, your one mama who was like Bitcoin kharid lo, and like, you know people who've done it. But this, when you talk about Web3, it is still crypto, but the culture is very different, right? What is that difference?
Okay, so
according to you?
So I think like we're gonna take a step back and talk about this very important thing, right? Like we interchangeably like use the word crypto and Web3, but there are two things here, right? One is what we called the crypto money, and the second bit is what we called the crypto tech. Okay, so the crypto tech has and always been the same. It has never changed. So from 2014, 2015, people have been building crypto tech, the Bitcoin. From 2017, people have been working actively on Ethereum, and the upgrades have been happening. These guys really don't care about if it's crypto or Web3, right? But the crypto money part is where you have retail, right? It is the part where the crypto tech
Watch out, bro.
essentially allows a layer of adoption or a layer of experimentation. So NFT as a layer of experimentation on top of crypto tech, right? So here's where crypto money comes into play. And the ones that you're talking about as traders, right? A lot of them play on the crypto money layer. And the crypto money layer has, I mean, you also know that the entire cycle has been extremely speculative, right? It is still going through the cycles of regulation, cycle of speculation, cycle of like, you know, what's going to work, what's not going to work, which part of crypto tech is most useful or most attractive, like NFTs. And so that's a large experimentation, right? And since the idea of having the word crypto was not so favorable, essentially Web3 was a massive rebranding of crypto, right? And to get retail and to get like the traders involved, to get the volumes, to get like adoption, people started using the word Web3 more. Today, when you talk about Web3, I think the crypto money part is very bad. We're in a very bad situation after like everything that has gone down with FTX.
The prices are down.
Everything, right?
Scam.
Yeah.
Trust in
in general, right?
the ecosystem. Yeah.
But crypto tech, however, remains like untouched, which is the builder community, right? Builders have always been there. They're still there. They believe in the fundamentals of crypto. And they're still working on things, right? If you look at Ethereum's roadmap, there are a lot of things coming in the next 1 or 2 years, right? It's totally unaffected. But if you look at the roadmap of what is coming for like what's like the next NFT, we still don't know that yet, right? So that's kind of like my summation on how I view traders versus builders. So traders are mostly on the crypto money side, and the builders are mostly on the crypto tech side.
Got it. So there is that clear difference in mentality between a trader who's operating at the money level versus a builder who's actually building the products, these decentralized products for it. 2 questions, right? The first one is, what are some of these paths available to people who want to get into it? Like, is it just enough for me to just go on an exchange and buy Bitcoin, buy Ethereum? Like, is that a level 1? And then what are the levels above that then?
Yeah, so I think the path is like a friend of mine who's Pradeep, right, as founder of Obvious Wallet. He puts it in a very good way. The lowest level is what we call a normie, and the highest level is what we call a degen. So
that's the spectrum then.
Yeah. A normie to a degen.
Yeah.
A normie is someone who's very new to crypto. Right, he's probably hearing about BTC, ETH for the first time in his life.
Yeah.
So for the journey for a normie is essentially understanding like what a wallet is, what a custodial wallet is, what a non-custodial wallet is, where do I buy crypto, where do I hold my crypto, who owns my crypto, how do I securely own my crypto, like those small things. And then what can I do with my crypto is basically like you got to dabble around, play and find out, right? And then your degen part comes in where you now know that, hey, now I know where to buy crypto, where to hold my crypto safely, and how to engage with other crypto products with the crypto that I hold, right? That's when the degen play starts. You're like, okay, now I'm going to buy NFTs, sell NFTs. Now I'm going to, like, I could start giving my crypto as a loan. I could start borrowing against my crypto. Or I could start buying these assets which appreciate over time using my crypto, not just NFTs. It can be multiple different type of collectibles and assets, right? So that's the kind of like the degen play. So I think this is broadly the spectrum of crypto, right? Start as a normie and you go all the way to a degen.
And I think one core difference here is a lot of people who start out think crypto is just like stocks, which is once you buy stocks, you pretty much do nothing with it. Versus the realization is that, okay, there is a whole ecosystem that now exists. So all these things you talk about is you are interacting through MetaMask with all of these. But yeah, okay, that's very, very basic level, right? Let's talk now about something for the hardcore people who've been in crypto for a while. What do you think are some, as a designer, some very interesting things you should try to explore, try to do once you're totally in here?
So for like people who are actively exploring crypto as designers, I think there are a bunch of things that you could start with. The first one is obviously like, as a designer, how can I try out my skills, right? So the easiest way is to go and attack some of these bounties. Super Team is a great place, Layer 3 XYZ is there, and there are multiple platforms which essentially give out design bounties. So as a designer, you can go and attack these design problems to see how, to essentially gauge where you stand as a designer in crypto, right? The next step is obviously to understand where you stand and to build your basis, right? Here's where I would say that a lot of designers don't do the fundamental thing, which is, if you talk about NFT, right? At the end of the day, it is a specific type of token, right? Go and read about these kind of Ethereum tokens, right? What is, now the biggest thing is account abstraction, like 4437, right? What is 4437? Like, as a designer, try to understand what it is, right? So these are going to be white papers, or these are going to be like proposals. Now, think about this. This is like the first time you got like a Lego manual or an IKEA manual, right? And now you could build something with it. So now once you have this white paper or the proposal, you can see that account abstraction as a concept is going to come on top of wallets. What does it mean? What are the different use cases, right? And then you start seeing things, okay, now people are talking about something called wallets. People are also talking about something called burner wallets, which are like temporary wallets, right? Yeah. Now, account abstraction enables people to create like multiple burner wallets and tie it back to their main wallet, right? Now, as a designer, think about what are these interfaces? Do we even have that experience today? No, we don't, right? So, as a designer, can you think about what a burner wallet interface might look like, right? Then you start sketching it. So I think this is the second bit. And the third bit is to see some of your work actually being adopted by the community, right? A lot of Web3 design is like, at the fundamental of it is like protocol driven. So which means you could go and add your design suggestions to a DAO, to a protocol, right? Like, you could be a part of Gnosis Safe, just as an example, because they are one of the largest kind of like custodial the solutions that they offer for multi-sig and everything, right? Yeah. So it's a new frontier. Now what you can do is, can you go and engage with their community, which is very open, right? Can you start proposing certain design changes? And these changes could even be something that you've noticed in the world of fintech, in Web2, right? Yeah. Great way to kind of categorize transactions, or great way to put your financial information dashboards together. Yeah. Propose it to these folks, see if they pick it up, right? So engage with the core crypto protocol platform community. The same for Polygon, same for like multiple other like blockchain, because all of them are like.
So let me summarize that in two ways, right? One is that since crypto is so new, there is that opportunity to reinvent patterns for the new changes that are happening. So for example, wallet abstraction, there will be new patterns in a similar way to how today we have swipe to refresh, which is a common pattern, but there is one person who came up with that. Yeah. Similarly, you have the like button, you have reactions. Yeah. Today you have variations of a core idea, but there is one designer who kind of came up with that as a concept for Web2 in feeds that are asynchronous, and that's the pattern, right? There are probably hundreds of these in Web3 that you could come up. So that's one opportunity. The second one here is that, yes, a lot of Web3 companies do operate like traditional companies where you apply for a job, you get in, you're on the team, you now work on projects, this, that. But with a lot of the DAOs, so they're almost like decentralized companies or decentralized teams working on this, you can kind of go the opposite route where you say, hey, here is actually the work that we have. So these bounties. So you could really do work, crypto work in a permissionless way without getting into the company just through that route. Cool, man. I think that's about it. Anything else you would want to add that you think people should know about what's coming for this year as we start this? Or, given your deep expertise, something that you've seen?
Yeah, I think, we're in a very bad crypto winter right now. But this is a great time for people to actually work in crypto, especially crypto design, right? Because the standards are not set. There's so much room for you to do like innovation. And I'll just, like, as designers, right, I'll just give you like some random ideas. you could build an open source design system that all the wallets start using, like a standard. You could start putting Figma community files together, which could be like, create multiple variants of like crypto widgets and components and build it, right? You could play around with fonts, especially fonts, because a lot of it is like, if you think about design, a lot of it is still not on chain, right? So you could use fonts, you could even go into like signatures, like how do people associate their profiles, their identity to their platform. Like all these small things are still like very open, and there's room for people to like create, innovate, design and ship. So I think that is the opportunity today. And in the next 2 years, I personally believe that there's a lot going to happen in the crypto space, and the transition as we see from the internet that we know today to the internet of crypto and enabled by, powered by crypto, right? It's going to happen, and you want to be the designer. And it's like saying, if SpaceX is happening, I want to be on that team that is designing the future, right? So great opportunity for designers to start and working.
Awesome, bro. I think let's wrap up. This has been a dope episode. Great walking around. I think we're going to do another one when you're back in Europe. But
thank you for having me, Abhinav. All right.
Cheers, bro. Now let's head out of here.